You are listening to Designed to Be Awake with Mick Kubiak. Hey listeners, welcome to episode 10 of Designed to Be Awake with Mick Kubiak. The episode today is called Toxic Positivity, and I'm really excited to share it with you. There's a lot of nuance, I think, missing from the bigger conversation in the culture that's going around about toxic positivity, or that has been over the last couple of years. I think it's a really important observation, toxic positivity. Like, what is that? Why are we saying that is toxic? But there's a lot more nuance to the question of positive and negative, and there's thinking and feeling, and how do we handle the states of consciousness that arise for all of us in a way that's in integrity, that's ultimately nourishing. So today, what I want to talk about is toxic positivity, because this is a phrase that's become popular in the last couple of years. And I remember when it first came, I was like, oh, hallelujah, because as someone who always preferred to show up with whatever was actually happening for me, I really cringed at people being like, cheer up, put a smile on it, turn that frown upside down. Like anything like that was really irksome, because it's like, look, can we not acknowledge simply that life is a rich tapestry of experiences? And I might have a feeling other than this like one feeling that everyone says is acceptable. So that is to say that I appreciate the naming of toxic positivity when you're like kind of mowing someone over who's trying to express some nuance, right? But I want to also point out toxic negativity, which, negativity is pretty toxic. And even as I'm speaking up for my former self to be like, yeah, I'm having an authentic experience, it's less than positive, or it's not this version of positive that everybody wants me to be right now, but I need to be real. So I'm standing up for that person, but at the same time, I'm recognizing that that person actually would also do a lot of unnecessarily negative talking and thinking and complaining and gossiping, and that wasn't doing me any good either. Now, I guess one of the things is we don't get to decide for another person what they are or are not going to do, what they're ready to comprehend. And so, when in doubt, protect yourself. Right? If someone's coming at you with toxic positivity when you're actually needing maybe to be alone and just sit with your feelings, set a boundary. It's a personal day, a sick day. Like, get out of there, man. Get out of there. But at the same time, if you're with someone who is expressing negativity in a way that you don't really want to hold space for that, for your own reasons, get out of there too. That's not your responsibility. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I see both of these things, toxic positivity and toxic negativity, or is it just positivity and negativity? I don't know. In relation to stillness, in relation to the true self, because the true self really isn't going in either of those directions. Whether it's positivity or negativity, it's generally like an extreme engagement with one's emotional states, which is something that starts to shift if you want it to. And that's what I would recommend. Like if we're talking about health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, the most powerful move you can make is to create space in between you and your life situation, your emotions, your thinking, the stories you tell yourself, your childhood, your trauma. All of those things are not you. None of those things are you. And you start to actually find out who you are when you just notice that and start to disidentify from all of those things, thoughts, feelings, stories, the past, trauma, what other people think of you, who you've become in relation to some other person or situation or culture, and to be like, oh yeah, that's all happening, but it's not who I am. Any of those things could go away and I'd still be here. So what is it that's left when those things go away? I think there are many great ways to find out. The simplest one would be to like have an experience right now where you're like, right, I'm none of those things. Because when you're ready, all of that stuff really looks like chaos and drama and pain, really unnecessary pain a lot of the time. And kind of once you get to that point, like for me, my greatest teacher was intense suffering. And I don't mean like a couple times, I mean like decades of really intense suffering. And there just came a point where I was like, I literally can't do this anymore. I still did it for a while after that decision moment. I remember I was sitting in a cafe and like writing in my journal and telling myself some dark story. And this thought floated through as if from somewhere else, which was negative thinking is a luxury you can no longer afford. And like talking about it now and looking back on it now, I feel like, oh my God, that was like a divine message from beyond saying like, okay, TikTok, time's up, lady. Like you have done this whole, I'm depressed and I'm bohemian and I write really dark songs and like this whole thing, but I'm not successful. And then that's a whole thing, all of it. Negative thinking is actually a little bit of a privilege, folks, which is weird to think about it that way. But it was for me anyway. There was a moment where it's like, yeah, your time for that is up because you're not 25 anymore and you don't have that much time left. And this is really, truly a waste of time, waste of precious time and energy. It's exhausting. I mean, I think that's the other thing when I was in my 20s and even some of my 30s, I had so much just natural energy that I could afford to be bringing myself down with dark stories, negative thoughts, lots of time spent in like the horror of my childhood. And it wasn't gonna kill me. It wasn't gonna take me out. I mean, I would say maybe it almost did a couple times, but this was really the last, like, okay, you know what? You've got another like 15 minutes, metaphorically speaking, of this before I don't know what, maybe I would have made myself sick. At that time too, I had become a mother and that'll take up some energy. There's wanting to be better than that and more than that for your child. And that was certainly a goal, an intention. But this was like deeper wake up call. No more of this for you. How many cigarettes do you get to smoke before it leads to something terrible? It was kind of like that. Negative thinking was like smoking. That was a big moment. And again, that's probably at least 10 years ago, maybe more. And I certainly snapped out of it in that moment. But that never left me. And I wrote it down and I would come across it and be like, oh yeah, right. And then I would just do whatever I needed to do to work with what was going on inside me, creating this stream of thoughts that were negative, which either were caused by or caused, and it is a snake eating its tail, stories and emotions. I just didn't have the capacity to see how those things were all connected and that they were running like a program in my brain, in my psyche. And so I thought I was creatively expressing myself and journaling in the morning. And I did do that for a long time. I have so many journals packed with writing, front to back, so many of them. But they were really just reinforcing actually these deeply worn pathways in my psyche. And I was just telling myself the same story, feeling the same feelings, etc. Occasionally getting a pretty cool piece of writing out of it, whether it was a poem or a song or artwork. I was an artist. And so I would make that into something sometimes. And I do agree with Philip Larkin, who said that the most negative poem in the world is a very positive thing to have done. And I think, what he's saying there is that both for the writer, like, oh, I got that out. There's this externalization that happens. It's like removing a tumor if you do it right, because otherwise you just keep growing tumors and taking them out and putting them on paper. And then I'm not sure what I think about how it impacts other people. I do know that I made a very dark record called Here Comes Spring. Shout out to any Here Comes Spring fans out there. And more than one person told me, but one in particular said this very profound thing, which was I was planning on killing myself. Like I had already planned it. And then I got your record and I felt so much less alone. And I just felt completely understood. And it turned a corner for him. So, I mean, that's incredible, right? Patti Smith used to say, I was going to kill myself, but I didn't want to miss the next Stones record. So it's that same idea that there is stuff here in this broken, crazy, wild world that we live in that's so beautiful or so deep or touching or meaningful that we're like, I don't want to go actually. I want to stay around. So to the degree that any of those kind of songs that I wrote or the record that I made had that impact on people, hallelujah, I'm so glad for it. I'm so glad for it. Externalization. So in a way, I guess when we make these kinds of pieces that people can hear, I'm externalizing it from myself so I can look at it, so I can see my shadow, as Jung would say. And then other people are able to see like, oh my God, that's my shadow too. So it's not just me. This is beyond the personal. This is archetypal, these kinds of feelings and this particular slice of the human experience. So it all ends up serving a purpose, I suppose. But I do want to also say that, yeah, you don't have to be suffering like that. And I guess, again, these artworks that externalize it for us, we can see it outside ourselves and be like, oh my God, that's not me. That's everyone. Oh my God, David Lynch too? Or whatever, right? And I saw such a great interview with him where he was saying, you can't be in it to create it. And there were a lot of people in the comments section disagreeing. That's not true. Very dramatic artist types. God bless us all, everyone. All of my work comes from pain. But another thing that I heard around this, and some of my work has come from pretty immediate, like, oh, no, this is happening right now. But mostly, that's not great art, actually. That's not my best writing. It's not my best stuff. I heard an expression once, writing from the scar, not from the wound. And that kind of says it for me. I'm better when I'm writing from the scar. It's healed and I'm looking at it now. And I have a little perspective. There's a little space in between me and the initial blow. So yeah, have I started out with one thing and then ended up with another? I don't know. I think what makes positivity or negativity toxic is a lack of spaciousness. There needs to be space around both of those things and an attunement to your environment. I think sometimes toxic positivity is like, who was that? Ned Myers in Groundhog Day, which if you don't know that reference and you don't know that movie, get off this podcast and get on to that. Watch that movie. I love that movie so much. But we're like these robotic characters, again, like running a program. This is how we have to act when we go outside, like all smiles, everyone. And we don't. And in fact, it's very burdensome. We think we're like spreading sunshine, but actually it's super oppressive, man. It's like, whoa, I don't know about all that. Hey, how you doing? That's all good. But like, I'm just trying to drink my coffee and get to work or whatever's going on. So go easy on these concepts and sit with them. Because I think that's also what I always see happening is like a meme gets out there, like it's a slogan now. Now we're all against it. We're against it. And like, take a moment and be like, where does that come from? Does that mean all positivity is toxic? What is positivity versus negativity? What's true to me? Who am I? Am I either of those things even? Really? Fundamentally, when I sit in stillness, when I regulate my nervous system and become present in the moment, that's a whole different ballgame. And that's a ballgame I want to play. So dorky. And I hope you do too. All right. I love you all. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening today. This episode and every episode would be impossible without my amazing team. The brilliant Chase Coughlin, who not only edits every episode, but also composed the music for the show, as well as Maya Young. If you enjoyed listening, please leave us a review. And if you would like more me, more designed to be awake, please subscribe at mickkubiak.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.